Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news. I hope you're all doing well. We've got lots to talk about tonight. Manchester United probably quite seriously looking at alternatives for Jadon Sancho now, which I think is rather interesting, isn't it? Because this is something that something's got to give. Something's got to give. We need a centre-back, a centre-defensive midfielder and a right winger. You can't get marquee signings in all three positions, and there are growing stories around Raphinha and Leon Bailey, which we'll be talking about in the show today. Also the Dortmund CEO. I mean, it's great in Germany how people come out and talk about their football club, isn't it? The Dortmund CEO giving a big hint about what's going to happen this summer around Haaland and Sancho. Also, I want to talk a little bit later about where are Manchester United, what are your ambitions as a fan, but what are the ambitions of the club? We should be able to identify those. Also as well, centre-back from last summer, let down from Solskjaer, story around that as well. But it's that time again. You can see it in the top left-hand corner. We are sponsored by Manscaped. I know people enjoy it when we're sponsored by Manscaped. I don't know why, because it's probably because I have to talk what I'm going to talk about. So Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. They obsess over their top technology developments to provide you the best tools for your grooming experience. Manscaped is trusted by over 2 million men worldwide. As you can see, we've all had those close encounters when trying to make our areas below our waist look as handsome as those areas above them, and that is why the Manscaped engineering team have just perfected the greatest ball hair trimmer ever created and just released the new and improved Lawn Mower 3.0. So now you can shave your most important possessions with no fear of injury. The Manscaped razors are super premium and boast a 90-minute battery life, waterproof technology, so you can actually use this in the shower. I've used it a few times. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. You can use it in the shower, and it even has its own LED light as well, which is always nice. Sounds like something else. The Manscaped razor is super easy to charge and even comes with a USB charging stand, so you can show it off in there to everyone within your bathroom or even your guest bathroom if you've got one. You're posh if you have. I haven't got a guest bathroom. Anyway, because Manscaped care about all the nuts that watch this channel, see what I did there? Put on balls, nuts. Anyway, because Manscaped care about all the nuts that watch this channel, they're giving you, United Stand viewers, a huge 20% off plus free shipping when you use the code United Stand, all one word, at checkout. So check it out. Links in the video description. Manscaped, get yours today through the link in the video description. And as another shout out to them, this is brilliant. I've showed you this before. You don't use this on anything down there because look, it's quite that could slip up the wrong hole. So this is for these. Brilliant when you get to a certain age. I'm not going to do it live on air because it might get my eyes watering. But yes, if you're getting to that point where you're trouble with nasal hair, or if you're older than me and you've got problems with ear hair, very, very high quality product. I had one of these, not from Manscaped before. I've said this before when I was younger, and it wasn't as good quality as that, and it actually ran out when it was up my nose, and it was almost like keyhole surgery trying to get up with the scissors to get it out again. That did make the eyes water. So links in the video description for that. And as I always say, cut the grass to make the yard look bigger. Let's get on with the show. Great offer there, 20% off from Manscaped. So, on with the show. We're going to start talking about right wingers. I think it was Flex mentioned Leon Bailey the other night, but there's another story coming out today, and it's from Stretty News, Manchester United fan website. Again, talking about Manchester United and the I suppose the drive and passion from Leon Bailey to come and play for Manchester United. Now, Leon Bailey's a player. I remember talking about him on this channel probably four, maybe even longer years ago when he was playing in Belgium. I just don't feel it. I've got to be honest, I don't feel it. Always go with your gut. And Raphinha's been mentioned by Brazilian press today as well. Raphinha at Leeds, another right winger. Played with Bruno Fernandes at Sporting Lisbon. There's talk that Manchester United are going to escalate talks for him now. So you've got Raphinha, you've got Leon Bailey, and effectively you've got Jadon Sancho. And I think it's quite interesting that what I would say about this is that I suppose everybody, this is the brilliance of football opinion, isn't it? Everyone's going to have an opinion on this. And I think on social media today, especially on Twitter, I saw a lot of people getting very excited about Raphinha. And there's no doubt he's a good player. But all I would say is, as I've said to you before, if you want to close a gap on Manchester City and Liverpool, do you buy players that Man City and Liverpool wouldn't buy? And that, to me, is what Raphinha and Leon Bailey are. Maybe Rafinha, Pep might look at him and go, I can do something with him, like he did with Mahrez, but no, I don't think Leon Bailey is a player that Pep Guardiola would go for. So if I'm going for one of the two, I'm probably going to go for Rafinha because he's Premier League proven, and I think Premier League proven is so important. I was talking about this today. I watched the Arsenal game, and I mean, God, Pepe. I would have took Pepe at Man United. I mean, I don't ever disrespect Arsenal for buying Pepe. I thought it was a brave signing, and I would have gone for him. On his form at Lille, he looked good. But, if you had the choice between the two, would you go for Zaha or would you go for Pepe when they bought Pepe? Many people probably would go for Pepe, but actually Zaha would be the better option because he's Premier League proven. And I think in this situation, I'd go Rafinha over Leon Bailey because he is Premier League proven. There's not much in the age. I think Leon Bailey's 23 and Rafinha's 24. I do have a concern about Bundesliga players, which is weird because Jadon Sancho plays in the Premier League, in the Bundesliga, and so does Erling Haaland. But I think those two are clearly going to transcend the Bundesliga. I think you could nail on that those two, wherever they go, they're going to be good players. I can't really say that about Leon Bailey. So I'm not feeling this deal. And the reason I'm not feeling it, I suppose, either of them, is that, to me, Leon Bailey and Rafinha, both good players, but they're not first choice players, are they? If we go and buy Adama Traore, Leon Bailey, or Rafinha this summer, we all know yet again that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, or whoever the manager is at that point, has been delivered a second or third or even fourth choice winger. Because we know who the first choice winger is. Because it was Jadon Sancho. So if you don't get Jadon Sancho and you get Leon Bailey, that to me, all right, you've saved yourself a bit of money, but what are we getting excited about as fans? Oh, we've got a right winger, but we've blatantly been given somebody on the cheap that's a third or fourth option. And that's my issue with this, is that when we're looking at these types of players now, we've got to start looking at the evidence. Well, you don't have to start looking, but what I'm looking at then is that the evidence goes beyond Solskjaer and Mourinho. It goes back to Van Gaal and Moyes now. The stories that come from Moyes and Van Gaal and Mourinho about their time at Manchester United is they didn't get the backing that they wanted and they didn't get the players that they wanted. So whoever the manager at Manchester United is, you've always got to have that in the back of your head. Are they getting what they wanted, or are they being treated worse or the same as others? And let's not forget, Mourinho is being paid a lot more money than Ole is. So why would they treat Ole any better unless they're learning from their mistakes, which hopefully they are. So my thought on this is, if we did get Rafinha or we did get Leon Bailey, I hope it's because we're now going to get top quality CDMs and centre backs and spend the money better, because that I can deal with. But what I can't deal with is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer getting another third or fourth choice option. And to me, Leon Bailey would be a third or fourth option. Rafinha, you might be able to push him up to being a second choice, but it's not first choice. And all I'd say about that is, well, people will be going, well, you don't always get your first choice. You don't always get your first choice, but you need to get your first choice when you're trying to close a gap on teams that are better than you. You can't expect to close a gap on people better than you when you're not getting your first choice signings for your manager. What did you make of Arteta saying that they're going to have an unprecedented summer with loads of incomings after Ole saying no clubs will sign, says Athea? I didn't know he'd said that, Athea, but it is interesting because I don't know where Arsenal are getting their money from. Disgraceful today, we were robbed, VAR out and Xhaka out, says Zane. Well, I did think it was a handball for you, to be honest, but we didn't get ours last week. Liverpool didn't get theirs against Kante, so I knew it wouldn't get given. Klopp's first choice was Brandt and he got Salah instead. Pep's first choice was Koulibaly and he got Diaz. Managers don't always get their top choice, says Naja. Poor example, though. Poor example. I mean, very poor example. Klopp got Van Dijk. Klopp got Mane. And actually, I don't know whether Klopp did get Mane, did he? But he definitely got Van Dijk. He got Fabinho. He's got a lot of the players that he wanted, Klopp. You don't. I don't know what club you support, Naja, but don't come on here defending the Glazers for their recruitment of players. This has been going on for 8 years. We generally don't get even our second choice. So I disagree with you on that, and I think most people would disagree that Manchester United's transfer policy is similar to Man City and Liverpool. I agree you don't always get your first choice, but when you're trying to close a gap on teams better than you, you have to. That's why you need to be good in transfer negotiations. Mark, will you play Football Manager after this show, please? No, Jay, I won't. And we've entered the period of the season called the Gauntlet. Let's take on all comers and silence the critics. Glory beckons for those willing to rise, says Tim. Massive game tomorrow, Tim. Absolutely massive game. Can I just say though? I mean, I don't know whether that's true what Arteta has said. But interestingly, just sticking with the Sancho and right winger story for a minute or two more, Watzke, who is the CEO of Dortmund, he's come out and said that he doesn't feel that the transfer window is getting any lighter. If anything, it's going to get darker. Or words to that effect. And basically, they're not expecting big money offers for Haaland and Sancho this summer. So I don't know whether that means they're not going to sell them, but they're not expecting it. They're not expecting the transfer window to get better this summer. They expect it to get a little bit worse before it gets better, which fits in with, I suppose, what Solskjaer said. But what he did say is, apart from Man City and PSG, who are state-run clubs and can find money from anywhere. So, you know, even in Germany, they know what PSG and Man City are all about. So, yeah, I mean, Manchester United will love to hear that from Dortmund, but I don't really care. I've got to be honest, I do not really care about the finances of other football clubs. I care about the finances of Manchester United. We're over £400 million in debt. That's got nothing to do with COVID. We've had over £100 million go out in dividends. That's got nothing to do with COVID. And our revenue drop is going to be impacted by COVID, but businesses can speculate to accumulate anyway. We've lived in debt for 15 years, so why is COVID suddenly on the headlines? Oh, we can't... I've always said that, haven't I? Consistently over the last 12 months, I've always said, how dare Manchester United come out and use COVID as an excuse when they've kept us in debt for 15 years? You're telling me that one bad year because of a global pandemic stops you spending money, and yet for 15 years you've allowed us to be hundreds of million pounds in debt? It's totally contradictory and hypocritical to use a global pandemic as a reason not to spend money, yet you've always taken dividends out and you've always kept us in debt for 15 years, and you've told us things like, well, that's what businesses do. It's fine to carry a bit of debt. Well, yeah, carry a bit of debt for the next year then, because you know you're going to make loads of money over the next decade. So we can spend money. All I'm bothered about is Manchester United. I don't give a shit about Dortmund, Arsenal, or any other club. I care about Manchester United. We're a football club with a rich history of winning. And my expectation, like your expectation, is that we should be the number one. And therefore, we should be trying to be number one. And you don't become number one by buying number three. And that's the simple thing. And as soon as our negotiators understand that, the sooner we will start to build this football club back to where it needs to be. But I want to talk that in a bit, because I want to talk about the expectations around the football club, what yours are and what the club's are, because I think the evidence is very clear of what the club's expectations are. Do they marry up with your expectations? Will they ever marry up with that? But just, whoa, wasn't defending the Glazers. I didn't say we have a good transfer policy either. My point was sometimes you have to get a second option and make do, says Naja. Yeah, I agree with that, Naja, but we always do that. And that's what I'm saying. We always do that. And it's not even the second choice. It's the third or fourth choice. When do we ever get first choice? Pogba, probably. So the majority of the time we don't do it anyway. If you had to choose between a Haaland or Mbappe, which one would you go with, Simon? Simon, this is totally Saturday night nonsense, but I would go with Mbappe. But in no way do they correlate with Man United buying them. It's just literally I'm answering your question there. Welcome. Thank you for the super chat, Cronus, and Liam Deegan as well. And Angie says, Bay not for me, Rafinha maybe, second tier again. However, what I'm most excited about is Edmund Tapsoba from Leverkusen. Ed will never spend 70 million for a centre-back, and he can be perfect alternative. Let's see. Yes, he is interesting. I'm actually going to talk about him a little bit later. But, just to wrap that up before we move on, would I be happy, because I think that's the most important thing, and would you be happy with either Leon Bailey or Rafinha at Manchester United? I don't want Leon Bailey. Now, I did like him a few years ago. I don't want him. The reason I don't want him is because he's a risk, and I don't want to take risks. We're not in a position to take risks. I think if you were Liverpool or Man City, you'd take a risk on Leon Bailey. He could be brilliant, but you're not. We can't afford to take major. I mean, every signing's a risk. Every signing's a risk, but Sancho's a risk, but it's a calculated risk. Varane's a risk, but it's a calculated risk. I'd even say Koundé's a risk, but a calculated risk. Leon Bailey is playing for. He's not even playing for the best three clubs in the Bundesliga, and he's never played for a big club. And you're going to bring him to the Premier League and expect him to solve your creativity issues off the right hand side. I don't want Leon Bailey. And it's not because I don't like the player, because I have talked about him in the past. It's because it's not the level of player that we need. Rafinha, If we bought, I won't say no to Raphinha. What I would say about Raphinha is I would bring Raphinha to the club. I think he would be a very good player because I think any player that's played under Bielsa is going to be a tactically astute player. But on top of that, the only way I would take Raphinha, if we could get him for about 40 million, I would take him. And on top of that, I would only take Raphinha if it meant we were going to get a top quality centre-back and a top quality CDM. Because to me, that would be efficient use of transfer funds. Instead of spending £80 million on Sancho and only getting a crappy centre-back, if we got Raphinha and got a really good centre-back and a really good CDM, I would do it. So I'm not opposed to Raphinha. I think he ticks a lot of the boxes. He's not Sancho, and I'd love Sancho, but I worry about getting Sancho and then you can't get anything else. And I do firmly believe we need a right winger, but we need a centre-back and a CDM more. And maybe Raphinha would give us that. He's also left-footed, so he's, again, it's that creativity from that. We need creativity. He can play both wings as well. Thanks for the sticker, Renate. And also, most of our signings we suck the light out of anyway. So what is the point? We either play them into the ground or suck their creativity a bit away, says Red Baron. Going back to an early video, I agree. I wouldn't take Haaland or Kane, but Mbappe I would spend our budget on if that was the only choice, as he can create his own chances. Ashley Duncan, thanks for the super chat, and he says congratulations on 1 million. Yeah, please smash a like on the video, by the way. We've got some quotes from Bruno Fernandes I just want to bring in. There's quite a lot to get through tonight because there's another story about centre-backs that Ollie wanted last year that Edward would let him down on. But I want to, obviously we're playing in the derby tomorrow. Massive game tomorrow. Personally, I did say in the preview that I think we won't lose. I think it will be a draw. I do feel excited about the game because the Manchester derby is always exciting. I can't wait for the watch along tomorrow, so join us for that. But I do feel that there are two. I don't know where everybody sits on this, but I do think that there are two likelihoods tomorrow. I think it's going to be 0-0 or we're going to get beat 2 or 3-0. I don't think we're going to score tomorrow. I think if we score tomorrow, it's a big achievement. And I know that sounds really bad to say if Man United score, it's a big achievement. But we haven't scored in our last 3. And Man City have got the best defence in the league. They've got one of the best, maybe the best defence in Europe. So they're going to have a lot of the ball and they've got a good defence. I don't think we're going to score tomorrow. So I think our best chance of a result is 0-0. Otherwise, I think we'll score 2. They might score 2 or 3 because, especially if they get an early goal, I think we're in trouble. So it's going to be really interesting. I don't think there's going to be many happy United fans tomorrow night. I mean, if we get 0-0, I'm not saying I'd be happy with it, but at least we didn't get beat. But I've got a feeling that tomorrow night there's going to be a lot of unhappiness and a lot of moaning. But we are playing a very good side. I think it's going to be difficult. Bruno has spoken about it. Agreed, Mark. We should be getting our first choice players, says Barry. Bruno Fernandes has spoken about the criticism that, I don't know whether anyone's listened to the interview, but it's very, very, very encouraging. He's definitely a leader, as we know, and he sounds like Mourinho, obviously, because he's Portuguese when he's speaking English. But he was talking directly about this misconception, I believe, that he doesn't turn up in the big games. And what he basically said is that let me just check. Well, he hit it head on. He said that I don't need to read or hear that I've played badly in the last 2 games because I know I've played badly in the last 2 games. I'll put my hands up about that. I have played badly in the last 2 games. But it's sad to read people who know about football saying that I haven't turned up in the big games because effectively they don't know football. They talk about the past when the reality is that football is the past, the moment and the future. And everybody should be taking that into account. And I think what he's basically saying is that people are just looking at him and they're going, oh, he just scores penalties. That's all he does. He doesn't do other things. And I think that Bruno Fernandes said, look, let them keep doing it because I'm big enough to take the pressure. I'm big enough to carry the pressure. And he's not bothered about it, but I think he's just saying, look, these people don't actually know football if they think I can't play in a big game. Which is true. It's absolutely true. Because you can't have your bread and eat it. You can, but what I'm saying is that I've always said, I predict Bruno's going to have a bad game tomorrow. Not because he's a bad footballer, but because the tactics will not help him or our striker or Rashford. I know that Bruno won't turn up in a big game, but that's because I know football and I watch Manchester United. And most of you know what I know because you watch Manchester United. These pundits in the mainstream media who watch Man United every now and again, They don't watch Bruno play against Southampton or Newcastle or whoever. They only watch the big games because that's what people do. There are even United fans who don't watch every game. So they'll watch him play against Liverpool and Man City in January, and they'll watch him play against Chelsea last week, and they'll go, what's the big idea? I've never seen him do anything. He just scores penalties. Because they don't watch us every week. But if you do watch him every week, then I think that 1 minute. Something's getting on my nerves. Sorry about that, everybody. There was a animal incident. Anyway, so what I was saying about Bruno Fernandes is effectively that he, as you know, he's not turning up in the big games because we're not turning up in the big games. And what he's basically saying is that these people who are criticising him about not turning up in the big games, they don't actually know football because they're looking at the present, but they're not looking at the past and the future. And what he's saying is that there's a whole year of me at Manchester United. I don't just score penalties. I do make key passes. I do score goals. But if you don't watch all of that and you just judge me on those individual performances, then you don't know football because you're not seeing what I'm doing out of those games. And I think Bruno Fernandes is as intelligent as you are. He knows why he's not turning up in the big games, and we know why he's frustrated. And I think we see it with Rashford, I think we see it with Greenwood, we've seen it with Martial, and I think we see it with Cavani. They're hung out to dry by the tactics we use against the top six. So Bruno's fully admitting that he hasn't played well in the last couple of games because he knows he hasn't played well. But over the season, he's going to struggle against the traditional top six because of the way we play. I predict tomorrow he won't play well, because you can't play well with a team that's not getting you the ball quick enough. We need midfielders with more guile and passing ability. McFred are very reactive players who react to what the opposition do to help in counter-attacks. Says Raj, we need more proactive players. You're spot on. Hi Mark, massive congratulations on passing 1 million. I've been watching your videos last couple of days and totally agree that we need to focus on a CDM and a centre-back. No point chasing Haaland, he will get annoyed. And that's from Chris Burton. And Thierry says, congratulations guys for the 1 million. Thanks Mark, Flex, KG, Ricky and Beth. You're awesome. Kiss from France. Yes, we kiss here. Continue the good work and congratulations community. Thank you Thierry. I hope it's a kiss with a mask at the moment. But yeah, I mean look, I love Bruno. Cavani's not with the squad, says Zed Jamie. I mean that's a bit of a blow. I don't know if you could let us know where that's come from. Oh, here we go. We've got a squad here. So the squad is Henderson, Grant, Bishop, Wan-Bissaka, Maguire, Bay, Lindelof, Twansebi, Shaw, Tellez, Williams, Fred, Matic, McTominay, Bruno, Fernandes, Rashford, Shoretire, Ahmed, Greenwood, James and Martial. So no Van der Beek, no Pogba, no Cavani. As I said, I think if you don't play any Robbie Williams tomorrow because we're not going to get entertained. I really hope we do, but I'm going into that eyes wide open. We can win tomorrow, but where's the creativity coming from the midfield? Like, there is no creativity in that midfield. It's Fred, Matic or McTominay playing as a midfield two, babysitting Maguire and Lindelof with no fullbacks going forward. I think it's going to be a hard watch tomorrow. I'm hoping we can do something, but I don't see where the goals are coming from. And with Cavani not playing as well, I just don't see where the goals are going to come from. He might play a back five, but there's no... I don't know how we could do it, but I'd almost try and play Bruno next to one of the other midfielders in a deeper role. I'm getting to that point now. Bruno is brilliant in the number 10 position, but he's wasted with them two behind him. I'm almost thinking get Bruno in the midfield pivot, because we need some creativity from deep. But we've got Greenwood, James and Diallo on right wing, says Liam Perkins. Yeah, we need to buy a right winger. You've just clarified that for me. They just watch highlights, Mark, not the whole game. Bruno wouldn't say I played bad because of defensive tactics and McFred don't create anything, says Paul. Oh yeah, he's not going to throw anyone under the bus. Bruno is not one to control a football game from deep. I think he provides the final pass and we need to get the ball to him for him to perform, says Amtrak. Well, exactly. You're exactly right. But it was a very... The thing is, it almost... It reminded me of Cantona, it reminded me of Keane, it reminded me of people like Gary Neville and Ryan Giggs when I was sat, and Van Persie, these class players that we've had, and Rooney. When I was listening to Bruno for 2 minutes, it just flew by. I was hanging on every word because he just knows football and he delivers, and he's a very important player. Mark, you're confident a director of football will help this club when in fact the director of football will be hired by Woodward and most likely have parameters just like Ollie. Yeah, you make a very good point, Cronus. Mark, we're getting stuff tomorrow. We are going to look like a club that's won a competition to play at the Etihad, says Mark. I'll tell you, mate, I've just got a feeling we're going to get a result tomorrow. You can all tell me I was wrong on the match reaction tomorrow night, but I think you've got to go into it. It's Manchester derby, and I've always said this. A derby is a great leveller. I remember when Man City were crap and we were the best team in the country, and they did get results against us. So anything can happen in a derby. But I actually think Man City are a hard team to beat without fans. I think they play very, they're a manufactured club. They won't like me saying this, but they are a manufactured club. They got a stadium, they got a load of money, they turned the oil tap on, they brought player in after player after player, manager in after manager, until they got it right. And now they've built this club that's got it right. And I think they're absolutely at home playing in front of 50,000 fans or 5 people. They just do their thing. And I think that's another facet of why they've done so well. They're going to be absolutely buzzing tomorrow. They're going to be absolutely... I think Pep wants to smash Ollie. I think he does. I think he wants to smash Manchester United. And there is an opportunity for them to do that tomorrow. I think it's going to be a really hard watch. We're not going to be able to keep hold of the ball. It's going to be bursts of attack, and they're going to have a lot of the ball. I think the only way we get out of that game with anything is a 0-0. I'm hoping we can do better, but I'm not going to say we're going to lose. I've got a funny feeling we will get something out of it, because as we know, when Ollie's back's to the wall, he does tend to get a result. But to be honest with you, no Cavani isn't a surprise. I don't know why Cavani's not fit. Did he not play on Wednesday? So why is Cavani not there? That would be his 3rd injury now. Am I not right now? Can I just say, actually, am I not right now? The pelters I got about saying I didn't like the Cavani deal. Even though I like him, I didn't like the deal because of his injury record. If he's out of tomorrow's game because of injury, that's his 3rd injury now. 3rd injury. You can't rely on him. So Cavani could be out. Van der Beek is out, but he wouldn't use Van der Beek anyway. The reality is, we're only really missing Pogba, and the whole team from the defence to the midfield loses creativity. It's poor. Where is Mata? I think he's injured, Yazza. Maybe Pally Greenwood as 10 or Martial as a 10. I don't know. Help Mark. I don't even know what to do now, knowing the team. Who will you play? Says Yazza. I know the team, mate. I already know the team. I know the team. It's the team we picked on preview, isn't it? It's going to be Henderson in goal, Wan-Bissaka, Maguire and Lindelof. Sure, they won't go past the halfway line. We've got Maguire, McTominay and Fred in front of them. They won't go past the halfway line. Bruno isolated, pulling in he can't do it against big teams game, even though he's set up to fail. I think he'll put Dan James on the right to put in a shift. I think Rashford will play off the left because he never doesn't play Rashford. And Martial will play up front, have a totally shit game, get a load of pelters, even though you could play Haaland, Kane and Mbappe up front and they wouldn't get any of the ball anyway. So I know how we're going to play, and I know the team. Martin says we might go with a 5-3-2. You may as well. You may as well. We're not going to create anything anyway, are we? We may as well try and get the fullbacks forward. But the question is, should we be going back to a 5-3-2? We've wandered into something a little bit here. I've got other topics to talk about, but we have wandered into something here that is a little bit off the cuff, which I like because we've got the squad news that Van der Beek and Cavani are not in the squad for the match tomorrow. Would you go with a back 5? I wouldn't have a problem with the back 5. Suffice to say this is something that we left behind last season. Why are we going back to that? You can't really say we're going back to it because of an injury crisis. We're only missing Paul Pogba. Van der Beek is not a player that he's used this season. He cannot and will not be allowed to come out and say, we've gone back to a back 5 because we've got an injury crisis. What's the injury crisis then? Pogba's out? Well, that's always a possibility. Van der Beek's out? Piss off. You don't use him anyway. You can't use him as an injury crisis. Cavani's out? Well, he's injury prone and you bought him injury prone. So The problem is the midfield. If you play a back five, hypothetically you can get your fullbacks forward as wing backs, and you've got a front two, which could occupy City's defence, and you still get a three in the midfield. So you basically play a 5-3-2. I wouldn't have a problem playing a back five. Does it make us any more creative? Potentially down the flanks, and it gets two up front. The problem with the only problem I've got with the back five is that it's ultra defensive, but we're going to do that anyway, so it's not really a problem. And my other problem is we don't really play it anymore. So why are we going back to it? He should have the guts to stay with the system that is apparently more progressive and pressing. So I don't know. I mean, what I would say is you've got to be very careful. You've got to be very careful about in defence of Ollie, and I do always try and defend him. Sometimes, even though I'm banging my head up against the brick wall with you, people. But what I would say is it's very difficult to go into this game, isn't it? And throw in the Chelsea game and the Crystal Palace game, because we're playing Manchester City. They're the best team in England by a long way. They're going to attack us. I think if we went there and tried to win it, we probably would get smashed 3 or 4-0. And then everyone would say Ollie's an idiot. But anybody who goes to the Etihad and tries to attack them is going to get beat 3 or 4-0 at the moment. Even Liverpool would. So he's got to go there and defend. He's going to do that, but he's got to do that because there's no evidence that we are anywhere near... Well, we haven't got the players for a start, and I don't think we've got the coaching, but we haven't got the players to go there and go on the front foot tomorrow. We just haven't. So we've got to go there and play counter-attacking football. We've got to play deep, and maybe he will go with the back five. Would you sacrifice buying defensive players this summer if you can sign both Sancho and Haaland for 150 million? Worth the wait if we spend the budget on two, says Moshin. The trouble is, Moshin, it doesn't matter if you've got Jadon Sancho on the wing, and it doesn't matter if you've got Erling Haaland up front. How do you get the ball to them? And you can say Bruno, but who's getting the ball to... The problem we've got at the moment is no one's getting the ball to our front four. So what difference does it make if you get Sancho and Haaland in the team? If we're not getting the ball to the front four quick enough, you've still got the problem that the defensive line is deep with Maguire and Lindelof, and McFred can't play the ball forward. I tell you now, I wouldn't spend £150 million on Haaland and Sancho because you've got to build from the back. We're actually quite good in the front, so we've got to build from the back. Adding another right winger or a better striker, we're all right. We're all right. We will score goals if we get the ball forward quick enough, but we can't do it at the moment. Joshua Bowwater says, baffles me that the press makes such a big deal about us signing Donny for 30 million and not using him, but doesn't get mentioned. Ake to City for 40 million. Well, I suppose the thing, I mean, Joshua, you make a good point, but I suppose the issue with that is that we're crap in the midfield and we don't use Donny. Man City have got the best defence in the league, and Laporte sits on the bench, so that's probably the reason. They did spend a lot of money on Ake, but what that shows to me is that they've just got a board that will back a manager and get player after player after player, and they can spend 40 million on Ake and never use him. But we need a midfielder. We buy one and then we don't use him. What is the point of signing Donny for 34 million if you don't play him? Ajax, he was one of their best players, says Jack Lynch. Yeah. Centre-back partnership takes time, says Richard Jones. A centre-back partnership does take time, Richard. Which one are you talking about? Maguire and Lindelof have been our centre-back partnering for over a year, and they're shit. And I think we all know that. And I don't like saying that, but I think we all know that they're a shit centre-back partnership. Everybody knows that, except for Ollie by the looks of it. But just on the centre-back situation, interesting story today. I can't remember where I saw it. And definitely on MUFC MPB Twitter. And what it basically said is, talking about Ake, that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wanted Upamecano or Ake last summer, and Woodward didn't get it sorted, and now he's got to do it this summer. I don't know where this story sources from, but it's always worth remembering that there were huge hints that Ollie wanted a centre-back last summer. I got told, and many of us read it anyway, that the two priority signings that Solskjaer wanted last summer were a centre-back and a right winger, and he got neither. I know he got a left-back, and I know he got Donny, but he wanted a centre-back and he wanted a right winger, and he didn't get either of them. And that's what we started the season on. And it's always funny when people say United bottled the league. I don't think we bottled the league. I think Man City just took what was theirs. We were never going to win that league. As soon as City went on a 21 winning game streak, we were never winning that league. We're not capable of going and doing that. So you get these people coming out saying United bottled the league. How the freaking hell did we bottle a league that we could never win? We could never win this league this year. Can Manchester United go on a 21 winning streak? No. I don't think anybody can. I think Liverpool, with their team of last year, could try it. But we can't do it. Chelsea can't do it. No, we can't do that. So we haven't bottled a league this season at all. We got first in January, we got excited, and then a real contender turned up and went, get out of the way, we're taking over now. And we were like, yeah, we can't go with this. So we haven't bottled a league this season. I will defend Ollie, I will defend the club on that. We haven't bottled the league. Remember what we said at the start of the season? I said, with the lack of investment and the lack of backing of this manager, he'll do bloody well to get top 4. And we're in the top 4 at the moment. We might not be there at the end of the season, but we are there now. We must always remember that. And we must always remember that what we said when that transfer window closed on that Monday, and I lost my shit because we brought Cavani in and he got the number 7 shirt, and everyone was like, wow, Cavani's great. And I said, nothing against Cavani as a player, but I don't want him. It's desperate and it's embarrassing because the whole point of this window was to back a manager who got third place out of nowhere from lockdown and wanted a centre-back and a right winger and got neither. I was fuming. Go and watch the video again. And then it all gets forgotten because we're in second or first or everything like that. But he didn't get back last summer. He didn't get a centre-back and he didn't get a right winger. And I'm glad that story's come back up again about the centre-back because he didn't get what he was expecting to get. And that should always be remembered. And the same thing with Mourinho. Whatever you think about Mourinho, and I wanted him to be sacked, he got us to second place and they didn't back him in the summer. And it doesn't matter what you think about the manager. It doesn't matter what you think about Mourinho. It doesn't matter what you think about Van Gaal, and it doesn't matter what you think about Ollie. I wanted Mourinho and Van Gaal to go, and I think it was time to go. But I will always stick up for them and say they didn't get the backing they deserved when they'd already shown that they were the right people for the job. And Ollie didn't get the backing he deserved last summer when he'd already shown and succeeded. And this is the problem we always have, and we must never forget that. Whatever you think about these managers, you can put aside Ollie out, Jose out, LVG out, and actually go, well, I don't like that manager, but shit, look at the way the club treated them as well. Rashford calling Maguire knobhead against Palace was the best thing to happen this week. Imagine someone calling Roy Keane that during a match. Says Surab. Get Mrs. Goldbridge on camera, please, says Jay. Jay, you're on the verge. I'm telling you now, you're on thin ice. Chelsea Football Club, the most electrifying team in sports entertainment, says Liam. I think the most electrifying team in sports entertainment at the moment is playing Manchester United, to be honest with you. But that brings me in. I did want to bring this in tonight. What is the ambition of Manchester United Football Club? What is the ambition of Manchester United Football Club? Now, for me, as a fan of Manchester United, my ambition stroke expectation is that we, and I've said this so many times, we should be the Juventus of Italy, the Barcelona of Spain, the PSG of France, the Celtic of Scotland, and whatever, any big club from any country, that's what we should be. I'm not saying we should win the league every year. And I'm not saying that, maybe one bad year every now and again isn't unacceptable. But we are nowhere near what Manchester United Football Club should be. I know people from around the world who support different clubs, who I speak to for many different reasons. And one thing I always hear is, I cannot believe how long Manchester United have been off the top of English football. They're one of the biggest clubs in the world. And it's almost a sympathetic conversation. And I go, look, I totally agree with you. And then you wander into Barcelona wouldn't let this happen. Juventus wouldn't let this happen. PSG wouldn't let this happen. But Bayern Munich, they're another one. They wouldn't let this happen. They won't always win the league. And it might be 2 or 3 years before Barcelona win the league. But they will always be obsessed with getting back to being number one and getting back to being a fighter for number one. United, it's been 8-9 years now where we've not been anywhere near the title. We've finished second under Mourinho, but we were nowhere near. So my ambition is that Manchester United every single year should be a contender for the title, a legitimate one. That's where we should be. That's what Sir Alex Ferguson taught me. That's what he showed us. That's where we should be. The revenue, the size of the club, we should be there every year, but we're not. So my ambition and expectation is that that's what Manchester United should be, at the very pinnacle of English football, challenging for the big title every year. And that's where we should be. And everything about the club says that's where it should be. Fan base, stature, revenue. And yet we're nowhere near it. So what's the ambition of the club, do you think? Remember the first PSG game this season with the back five? If United play like that, it'd be good. Plus, if City go attack to win, that'd be our best chance to win, says Arito. Not trying to get United stand in trouble with Man United, but just an idea. How about a sign like, where's our director of football in your studio, says Sid T. Won't get us in trouble. Sorry, Mark, I'm drunk, says Jay Perriman. So I think that Manchester United, honestly, and I think many of the problems we have as fans, and Michael Laurent says, if we're still seeing McFred next season, do we question Ollie's tactics and do we consider the window a failure? I think so. I think I agree with you on that one. I think Ollie always does good with his back against the wall because the opposition underestimates us because of bad results. But Pep ain't going to do that, Mark. This time Ollie will feel the pressure. Dipak. Well, I think it'll be very interesting tomorrow if Pep plays with a false nine, because he's done that a couple of times against us. And the interesting thing about playing a false nine is that you don't go gung-ho and you don't allow yourself to be caught on the counter. I think Man City might be quite patient with the ball tomorrow. They won't play a high line. They won't get caught by pace. And I think they'll just pass us around. And they'll play with us. And also, Man City can score from corners. They can score from set pieces. They're not just a team that needs to tiki-taka through the box and score. So there's a lot of variety to Man City tomorrow. And I think Pep will have every eventuality covered. I don't think he's got the centre-backs this year. He doesn't have to worry about the ball over the top. We're going to be very one-dimensional tomorrow. We're going to be looking for that ball over the top, especially if Dan James, Martial and Rashford are our front three. I don't think Man City will fall for it. I just hope, because it's a Manchester derby, it might level things up. And some of our players might play beyond their recent ability, which is why I think we might get a draw. We will see. But both their centre-backs are scoring as well. But yeah, I think one of the big problems we have with Manchester United is that our expectations and ambitions as fans are that we should be one of the best clubs in England, but we're not. And I think the expectations and ambition of the football club now is to be in the top four. I think that's what it is. I think that's what we are, and I think when you look at the seasons since Sir Alex Ferguson left, we haven't always done that. So I think that the problem is we are a massive club with a massive fan base and a massive history and a massive status, but we've got people who run the football club who actually just one want to make money, which we know is the priority, but two, they just want to be top four. I don't think they want to win a title. I think they'd like to win a title, but I don't think it's an obsession for them. For us, it's an obsession because that's what we want. We want Manchester United winning titles. They're the things that we love to do. But I think that I think it's become very, very clear, despite what they try and say to shareholders and the public, they don't really obsess about winning a title. They're happy with top four because that ticks a lot of boxes. They're not committed to spending the money it will take to get us where we are. They're not committed to eroding their own jobs like Ed Woodward and bringing in a director of football because he likes his job. He likes the job he does. He likes to be involved in transfers. He likes to have a say on transfers. He won't give up that role because he loses power. Even though it's for the better of the club, he won't bring in a director of football because it will erode his job. And that is the problem at Manchester United. There's too many self-serving characters in that club. In my opinion, they don't talk to us, so they don't tell us how the club's run. But from what I see and from what I hear, you've got Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, his coaching setup, this huge gap between the board and the manager that's not filled by a director of football or a sporting director. You've got a CEO who doesn't know anything really about football. You've got other people who are bankers, and then you've got head of scouting, this, that, and the other. No director of football, and no public front speaking other than from the manager. We're almost like a League Two club, really. We can't afford a director of football, so the CEO will do it. And I just think that the ambition of the club is all. And of course, Ed Woodward's totally in the pocket of the Glazers. They're his mates, effectively. So they're saying we want to make money, and then the guy who's the director of football, effectively, is just trying to make money for the owners because that's his thing. I mean, there's so many reasons why a director of football with the freedom to do the job is important, because is it not a conflict of interest to have a CEO whose job is to report directly to the Glazers and make them money, but is also the guy who does the transfer negotiations? That's a conflict of interest because you're always going to be, well, my boss wants me to make money, but the manager wants me to buy players. Well, my loyalty is always going to be to the people who want to make money. So I just think the ambition of the football club is about money, it's about top four, and it's not about genuinely trying to win titles. They'll tell you they want to win titles, and I think they do want to win titles, but there's wanting to and doing, and we don't do enough to do it because we won't structure the club in the right way. Hi Mark, United should be first. Did people not learn anything from Sir Alex, says Andy and Bruno. Jay, stop being Donald Trump and be respectful to ladies, says Zane. The thing that makes me laugh, and I always say this, the thing that makes me laugh the most is that when people say, "Oh, stop being negative. Stop moaning about bad results. Stop being critical of bad performances. Stop moaning we have spent money. And it's like, I didn't just come out of the womb and be a moaning shit. I grew up with Manchester United from a very young age. I grew up watching Manchester United, listening to the greatest sports manager there's ever been, watching the greatest captain the Premier League's ever had, and that moulded me as a football fan and a Manchester United fan. So any stubbornness, any critique, any petulance, any frustration, any bad loserism, all of this comes from Sir Alex Ferguson and Roy Keane. They're responsible, not me. I'm a Manchester United fan who grew up arrogant, demanding the best, expecting the best, never accepting second best. And this is not because of me. This is because this is what the club was. And now we actually have a different set of fan. We have the fan who win, lose or draw, just get behind the players. Win, lose or draw, get behind the club. Well, I'm always going to support the club. And most of us are always going to support the club. But that was never the motto of Sir Alex Ferguson. It wasn't win, lose or draw, just get behind the players. It was lose or draw, you're not playing next week. Lose or draw, you're getting a bollocking when you go in the dressing room. And any player that played under Sir Alex Ferguson will repeat that. Obviously, he'd come out publicly and back his players because that was Sir Alex Ferguson's style, but you knew he was going to give them a bollocking. So we are sort of losing our way, and I think that plays into the hands of the current structure of the club as well. Because the mentality in the club now is not the same as it was for all those years under Sir Alex and the players that we had. Everyone knows the team, Mark. Predictable and defensive is a dangerous combo. Leipzig knew it and destroyed us. Pep definitely will. I'm worried about that, Deepak. That is the smartest thing City ever did, bringing Soren and Tixi. It's been a major influence as Kronos. And with injuries and not using the marquee signing from the summer, United are using the same squad from last season. How can you progress with the same squad? Mainly the board's fault and partially Ollie's, says Ian Beister. Well, can I just say something here? Right here, right now. Well, I can, actually. Please smash a like on the video. We're nearly at 2,000 likes, by the way. Question for you, the viewer. Don't you think we should change our playing style and formation since we're becoming predictable, says Daniel. Yeah, but we've played the same way for years. We're playing the same way for years. I'm not even talking about Solskjaer. We've been playing this style of football for years. Van Gaal, Mourinho, Ollie. It hasn't massively changed. It's still not very creative, slow build-up, compact, hit on the break. It's different versions of it, but it's still the same bread, still the same way. But the question I was going to ask you is, if you look at Manchester United's side at the moment, now, with Pogba out, and Van der Beek not being used, and Cavani injured again, if you look at this United side that's going to play tomorrow, so Dan James or Greenwood on the right, Martial, Rashford, Bruno, McTominay and Fred, Luke Shaw, Harry Maguire, Victor Lindelof, Dean Henderson and Wan-Bissaka at right back. Is that team better than the team that got us third place last year, which was David De Gea, Wan-Bissaka, Maguire and Lindelof, Luke Shaw, Matic, Pogba, Bruno, Rashford, Martial, Greenwood? Considering Greenwood was better last season, Martial was better last season, Matic was very good last season, obviously Pogba makes you better. Of course that team last season was better. So we talk about progress, we talk about evolution, but the team we played last year towards the end of the season is better than the team we've got at the moment. And not only that, the team we had at the end of last year was playing better football than the one that is now as well. So you've got to take it as you would. I don't have a point. I don't have a point here. But what I'm saying is, are we progressing? Now you can go loads of ways with this. You can say it's totally on the board. You can say Ollie's not progressing the team. You can say I feel sorry for Ollie because he didn't get backed and that's why he's now having to play a worse team than he did actually in the summer. But I do think it's really important to realise that the team we're sending out tomorrow is worse than the team that got us third place at the end of last year. There's many reasons for that. Some of it's on the coaching. I think a large majority of it's on the board. But we are putting out a worse team tomorrow with a worse style of football than we had at the end of last season. And yet we're being told that we're progressing, we're playing more on the front foot. Well, we're not, because that team was better, much better than that team we're going to put out tomorrow. And that's the challenge they've got, because they're probably more... And we beat Man City twice last year as well. So, but as we know, Man City are much better than they were last year. and we're not. And that's where I was going with this. Man City are a better team with a better squad tomorrow than they did when we played them last season. But tomorrow, for different reasons, we've got a worse team than we had last year. What is that? How can that be progress? And yet we're told it is. Just because someone wraps you up a present doesn't mean it's something you want. And it doesn't mean it's a good present. If Van der Beek was given games, would we be better in the midfield to Salah Ahmed? It's such a hypothetically because he's not been given it. Chris says, congratulations on 1 million. I've been watching and enjoying your show for 6 years, almost since the Sunday night shows. You deserve it, my friend. Thanks for all your hard work, passion and entertainment. Onwards and upwards. Thanks, everyone. Still, the 1 million thing gets mentioned, doesn't it? So thank you very much for that, by the way. Got the gold playlist play button now, which is for all of you to look at, because it's for you. But I think Manchester United's my passion, and I know it's your passion as well. But this is why I love the channel, and this is why I love the shows that we do, because your mind just wanders into so many things. It's never as simple as Man United are playing AC Milan next Thursday, or Man United are playing Man City tomorrow. There's so much you can look at. You can look at last year, you can look at progression, you can look at the way we're playing, you can look at how we should play, I can look at that game and think, how the bloody hell are we going to score tomorrow? It's very rare as a Man United fan that you sit there and think, if we score tomorrow, it will be an achievement. But I genuinely think if we score tomorrow, it's huge, because I just can't see it. Now, once a game kicks off, it's never what you think it's going to be. The game in my head tomorrow is we don't hardly touch the ball, we barely get out our half, we don't even have a shot on goal. That won't happen. We will have corners, we will have shots on goal. It won't be as bad as I think it's going to be. But I'm expecting a very, very tough game, and I think the best we can do is 0-0. I hope I'm wrong. I'm predicting 0-0. There's a lot of people who are thinking 4-5, 6-0. I don't see that. A 4 or 5 or 6-0, Man City haven't done that many times this season, and I think that would be a huge nail in Ollie's coffin tomorrow. He can't get smashed tomorrow. That will destroy a lot of people. If we got smashed tomorrow, would shift and start going, he ain't the man. Second in the league or not, they'd go, no, he ain't the man. We know we haven't got creativity tomorrow, but that's not an excuse to go and get smashed. We will play compact, we will play on the counter, and I think it will be very, very difficult. But I believe we can get a 0-0. The ambition of the club is to get as much success as humanly possible on a budget, says Nick P. Spot on. It's as simple as that. The board saw what was possible under Sir Alex and think it can be recreated, and it cannot. You're spot on. Thank you for the contribution, Arjun. Would you do an end-of-year United Stand Awards for Man United in regards to who we think is best defender, best midfielder and best forward, then overall player of the year, says Salah? I think that's a good idea, Salah. I'd like to start doing that, actually. Basically replicate Manchester United's awards, but do it voted for by you. And I think we will do it this year because we've got the function to do it. Definitely. We've nearly hit 2,000 likes. Thanks everyone who smashed the like on the video. But yeah, look, I could talk, as you know, and I think there are so many different areas, and I think it, even when I'm talking and interacting with you, it just generates so many different things. But I think the bottom line is this transfer talk that we've got at the moment around where we are as a club, it's only going to become more intertwined over the next coming weeks. We're coming towards the end of a season. There's so much going on the pitch, and we're lucky. There are clubs out there whose season's over basically at the moment. Arsenal, apart from the Europa League. So we have got 3 things to go for: top 4, FA Cup and Europa League, and that's good. We are sort of limping a bit at the moment. We're a bit injured. We haven't got momentum. We're playing badly. There's no creativity. And we're also coming towards the end of a season where we know our manager needs a contract or he's going to go. A massive summer transfer window as well. So there's so many things, and they're all becoming sort of all mangled into one. So, and I think it's only going to become more like that. So it's very, very interesting. But as I said, I think the most interesting thing for me is what's the ambition of the club, because it's certainly not obsessed about finishing first, as we've seen with the appetite over the last few years. And secondly, going into that game tomorrow, Man City have massively improved from last season, and I don't think, in fact, I would say factually, and I wouldn't normally say this, I think it's a fact that the team we're putting out tomorrow isn't as good as the team that we finished the season with last year. And the only player that actually is missing is Paul Pogba. Now, Paul Pogba's a miss, but he's not Superman, is he? Paul Pogba at Man United's been very hit and miss. So I'm not having that one injury makes us worse than last season. The reality is we're worse than last season because the club didn't back the manager, because Martial's not as good as he was, because Greenwood's had a difficult season, because Rashford's carrying an injury, because Matic's form has disappeared, because Maguire and Lindelof have got worse, and because Bruno's been overworked. and because we don't have a backup to Paul Pogba. That's why we're worse. It's not one thing. There's so many reasons why we're not as good as we were last season going into the game tomorrow. And every one of those reasons has got a reason. We should have spotted some of those reasons. We should have spotted that Matic was on the decline and done something about it. We should have spotted that if Paul Pogba gets injured, we've got a player ready to come in that's creative. And maybe we did, but we haven't used him. We should have spotted that Maguire and Lindelof had massive issues. We should have spotted Martial's drop-off in form and done something about that as well. There's loads of things we could have done. But more importantly, we should have backed our manager last summer, and we didn't. And that will always be a problem that Ollie has done fantastically well up to this point to deal with. But are the wheels coming off? I don't know. But I think tomorrow is the perfect game because when his back's up against the wall, he normally delivers. And if we can get a result tomorrow, going into these big... Look, Man City's the toughest game we've got before the international break. If we can get a result tomorrow, we'll take the confidence into Milan, and I do think we'll beat Milan. Then we've got West Ham, beat that, big 3 points. Leicester at the moment, I think they're even losing at the moment, Leicester, in the Cup. We could do that, get Paul Pogba back and get a bit of momentum. And that's what I'm hoping is going to happen. Need to get a bit of momentum. I think it's really, really a shame about Van der Beek, but would he use him anyway? Would he use him anyway? I do not know whether he would use them anyway. Leicester are losing 1-0 at the moment. So Leicester are dropping like a stone, as I predicted that they would. So, yeah, Leicester have drawn with Burnley midweek, lost to Arsenal last week. They're losing to Brighton now. They're dropping like a stone. So, yeah, we need to start doing well. Anyway, look, smash the like up video, everyone. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Really, really good video with some fantastic points as ever. And I hope you all have a nice evening and day, whatever you're doing. Tomorrow for the watch along. I will be live in the morning as well. There's already a lot to talk about on the morning show that I haven't touched about tonight. But remember, trim the grass to make the yard look bigger. Manscaped, 20% off exclusively with the United Stand code. These are really good quality products. They are. I use them. I'm not ashamed to say it. I use that for that, and I use that for that, and they are really, really good. You can get 20% off. I do believe in quality, and they are quality. They are really good. So links in the video description for that. Get your exclusive 20% off. Do give it a try. Very, very good. You can use it in the shower. I'll speak to you all later.